Good evening, everybody. I am the Falcon.
And I am the dove.
Welcome to the podcast. It was a very, 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 very beefy week of information. Some of it hopeful, some of it not so hopeful. Just tons of things going on all over the world. I remember last week we were talking about issues of underground communication and underwater and mine disasters. This week there was a horrible disaster in Russia, 102 men dead, methane gas explosion is going to tag right onto some things we were talking about before. 300 was once again in the news this week, but for very different reasons. We're also going to talk about something that was just breaking last week when we started our podcast, and of course this week has become a major story. And just a little while ago this evening, word came not only about the cause of this particular hideous event, but also some updates on how they're going to handle recall. Of course, if I say the word recall and you own a pet, you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about the Menu Foods Inc. of Streetsville, Ontario, recall of 60 million pouches or cans of wet dog and cat food under a plethora of names in the marketplace. This includes, but is not limited to, high-end foods like Science Diet Foods, Hills Food, Eukanuba, Imes, and those of the more modest market, like you would find in like Save-A-Lot and Walmart. So they're across the board. Just a little while ago, like literally 6 minutes ago, Menu Foods has suggested recalling everything regardless of when it was canned and processed, period. So for those of you who were discarding or returning certain lot numbers and then keeping other food, don't do that anymore, because Cornell University researchers today in upstate New York, go Cornell, have the deepest admiration and respect for you. Researchers have found that the contaminant that Menu Foods was unable to put their finger on this week actually turns out to be rat poisoning. This is bad. They do not think that it was sabotage. They think that obviously it's contaminated food, probably coming from wheat gluten product that was from a new supplier, as yet unnamed this week. There have been many sick dogs and cats. Seems to affect cats more than dogs because probably weight, volume. But nevertheless, many sick and dying pets. A lot of people are not either hearing about this or hearing about it fully. I've spent the past week with friends, relatives, acquaintances, going through boxes, pantries, you name it, looking up dog food and cat food, trying to make sure that they do not have the contaminated food. My own aunt had the food in her pantry. Her cat is now being treated for kidney failure. She got sick on Tuesday, and it's been touch and go, and it's really sad. Clearly, the USDA has the rules and regulations in place in the U.S. when we're looking at foodstuffs brought in from outside of the country. We certainly need to have a more uniform and consistent form of regulation and investigation. And this is something I actually harped on back in the 70s and 80s about issues of food stuff. We had a scare way back in the 70s and early 80s where some people messed with some Tylenol. That's why all the medications are sealed these days, because some crazy people actually contaminated the medicine.
Yeah.
So
this rat poison was found in pet food, blamed for the deaths of at least 17 cats and dogs.
Yeah, but
they don't know how it got there.
And they don't know how it got there, but the wheat gluten has been the suspect. The company hasn't said that, but the FDA has. And there's been a lot more deaths than that. And vets around the country think that there will be a lot more. And what we're really looking at is kidney failure, which is a common result of rat poisoning. Symptoms you should look for are if your animal suddenly loses appetite, stops eating, vomiting, certainly.
Drinking a lot.
Drinking excessively or not drinking enough. Any of these symptoms right now, don't play around with that. Get your pet immediately to a vet, because this is a life or death issue. If your pet is not treated rather rapidly, the prognosis is not good. Don't assume that because, well, they haven't eaten for 2 days, but maybe they just have an upset stomach. Not in this current climate. Contact your veterinarian. They will make arrangements, bring the pet in, and make sure that your pet gets a good once over, because clearly there is a problem, and it's a rather vast one. So we're going to do something that the major media markets haven't done, which is, it irritates the daylights out of me. You're sitting there watching the news and they're like, well, there's over 95, but they're not going to name the list. They're going to tell you to go look it up on the internet. Go to menufoods.com and you can see the list. Now, I think you should go there daily as the list is updated and take a look at those lists. But, if you're not, close to a computer and you're in your car a lot and everything, we're going to give it to you so you can hear it.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are. And you can run it back and say, well, wait a minute, what did they say again? Let me hear that one again. I might have that one, or I think my neighbor might have that one, or whatever. So we're going to read them off to you.
We're going to read
all
them all.
95.
We're going to read them all.
Because we think it's important.
It is very important. These are pets. These are like your family members. Now, this is the recall list as of March 21st. And
actually, I checked it today. It's the same. It hasn't changed.
Okay, this is recalled dog product information.
Yeah, here's dog products. America's Choice Preferred Pets. I remember these are wet dog foods.
This is
wet and pouch.
This is just wet, right?
Can and pouched, right? Not dry dog.
Dry
foods.
dog foods, all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Dry dog foods are okay.
Okay.
Authority brand, Award, Best Choice, Big Bet.
Big Bet.
Big Bet, Big Red, Bloom, Wegmans,
Bruiser.
And that's Bruiser, and that's from Wegmans stores, of course, under their label. Cadillac, Companion. What's that?
What? Demulas.
Demulas. Market Basket. Demulas is probably another chain store. We don't have them in our region, but if you do, DEMOULAS. Eukanuba, you know what that is. Food Lion, that's another food chain brand.
Oh, jeez.
There we go. Giant Companion, Great Choice, Hannaford, Hill Country Fair, Hy-Vee, that's Hy-Vee, Hy-Vee. IAMS, IAMS, for those of you who may not be familiar. Laura Lynn, Loving Meals, Meijer's Main Choice, MEIJERS, Mighty Dog, everyone knows Mighty Dog,
pouch.
in the pouch form.
Pouch.
Mixables, Nutraplan, Nutramax, Nutranatural Choice, and Nutro Ultra. Nutro, Old Roy of Canada, that's OL''ROY, Old Roy US, Paws, Pet Essentials, Pet Pride, Good and Meaty, President's Choice, Price Chopper, Priority Canada, Priority US, Publix, again that's the grocery store chain, PUBLIX, Roche Brothers or Roche Brothers, ROCHE, Save-A-Lot, Schnucks, Shepdog, Springsfield Prize, Sprout, Statler Brothers, Stater Brothers, excuse me, Stop and Shop, Companion, the Tops Companion, Weiss, that's another grocery store chain, the Total Pet, Western Family US, White Rose, Winn-Dixie, and Your Pet. Also watch the Hill Science Diet, Wet, and the Walmart brands, Wet. Here's the recalled cat food list from Dove.
Here is the cat food list. America's Choice Preferred Pets, authority, best choice, companion, compliments, Demula's market basket, Eukanuba, fine feline cat.
Now, that fine feline, I know people who got that at Aldi's. I know people who've gotten that at other discount stores. It's that little tiny cans. Watch the fine feline because it may have come from a store that you may not have normally expected.
Food lion, food town, giant companion, Hannaford, Hill Country Fair, High V, Iams, Laura Lynn, Lil Red, that's L-I'-L, Red, Loving Meals, Miser's Main Choice, Nutriplan, Nutromax Gourmet Classics, Nutro Natural Choice, Paws, Pet Pride, President's Choice, Price Chopper, Priority US, Save-A-Lot, Schnucks, Science Diet Feline Savory Cuts Cans, Sophisticat, Special Kitty Canada, Special Kitty US, Springfield Prize, Sprout, Stop and Shop Companion, Tops Companion, Wegmans, Weiss Total Pet, Western Family US, White Rose, and Winn-Dixie.
Now, if you're in the United States, in Canada, or in Mexico, any of these dog and cat foods could be in your stores. So, look at them carefully. If you have a question about a brand, there may be a small store out there, mom and pop store, who don't necessarily know they've got one of these brands. They've probably been very, very busy going over the list as best they can, but they may not realize it. So if you see something and you're not sure whether it's on the list or not, don't be afraid to go to a telephone, dial Menu Foods 800 number, go to the website, check it out.
See if your vet has a list.
Don't give it to the pet until you know for sure that it's not on the list. And remember, it is no longer specific lots. This was just updated about 6 minutes before we went on the air here. So it's any lot of any of these foods, regardless of the date of canning and processing.
The company is already facing lawsuits.
Oh yeah, that's already started, and you can anticipate that, but what we should really be paying attention to right now is taking care of sick pets, trying to get them well, and trying to put in some safeguards to make sure this doesn't happen again. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a huge proponent of small independent farms. The real problem, I know like ADM, they're going to be like, what are you saying? But you can have a large umbrella of support for a small family farm. Put them under an umbrella of insurance and assistance. But the small family farm is going to be your best bet to maintain the quality of food, to have the least amount of negative impact on the environment. Some of the problems we've seen coming for decades are coming to roost because we just don't have enough people to oversee everything. And if we want to have a truly global competitive market, and some do and some don't, and there are advantages to this and there are disadvantages, and here's one of the disadvantages. Something that we would normally oversee, obviously, a lot more carefully, has gotten into a product, and they probably had wheat, and maybe they had rats in their field, and maybe they decided to get rid of the rats. But you can't do that and have a harvestable product that's going to be fed to anybody. Mm-hmm. And I also heard the word said tonight that they didn't think it had gotten into the human population, but now they're asking physicians, particularly in large cities, to start monitoring human population patient response to a variety of issues. Now, that says volumes about how we should start thinking about our food products. And a lot of you out there are probably going, okay, so other than dry food, what can I feed my pet? Well, your vet as well as the local Humane Society and animal shelters, are a great source. Pet food, interestingly enough, doesn't necessarily have to come from a can. And Prince the
is here.
third member of our group,
Hello.
who is right here and smiling away, will tell you that pet food doesn't have to come from a can. He's never seen a can. He doesn't know what it looks like because he is spoiled rotten. So
he's not spoiled. We have to feed him people food
because he had a very sensitive digestive system when he was young and everything. So he's always been spoiled rotten.
So he's fine because we don't give him any dog food whatsoever except treats.
You know, and you should probably have less of those. But you can make your own pet food. I'm not going to do that today, but I'm certainly going to suggest that you can go to sites like Humane Society, like Animal Rescue League.
And we have some numbers here for you from the company.
Yes.
That a complete list of the recalled products, along with product codes, descriptions, and product production dates.
Forget about the production dates and codes.
Yeah.
Throw those out now, because anything
throw out all your cat food.
Yeah, just take it back.
Was posted on the Menu Foods website. The company also designated 2 numbers that pet owners could call for information. This is Menu Foods. This is 866-463-6738 and 866-895-2708. Those are the numbers that you can call for information to Menu Foods.
Okay, there we go. That's our up-to-the-minute latest information that we can provide for you, our loyal listeners.
And your pets.
And your pets. We hope that your pets are all well. For those of you who may have been challenged by this event, we pray for your pets because we know how much and how important they are and how well-loved they are. And this is just a terrible thing because you like to believe that you're always doing the best for your pet, and as an owner you can feel terrible about having fed them something that could harm them. And I would like to work very proactively and not reactively and say this is an example of times where we need to kind of take the bull by the horns and say, okay, we need to change some things. And those of us who are pet owners or, I don't know, just breathing, eating people need to take a proactive stance and say, you know, we have to have tighter regulations and we have to look very carefully at the chain of command of where foods come from, how they are packaged, where they go, where they're distributed from, and how they're handled to market. And this is a microcosm of a much larger problem. And some would say not so small a microcosm. It's huge. So for those of you who don't live in Canada or the United States or Mexico, at this point, as far as I know, you're okay to go. But for anybody in Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, with the foods on that list, don't feed it to your pet.
Okay, next up, we have a global warming update.
Yes. This week, for those of you who may not know, Al Gore went to Congress, spoke House of Representatives Subcommittee.
At Capitol Hill.
At Capitol Hill, the Science Committee in the morning, and in the afternoon, Senate Subcommittee in the afternoon. And, of course, the topic was global warming. And it was a very interesting exchange, very interesting presentation. Of course, global warming is no longer questioned by anybody who's not living in a tremendous sense of denial. And, I have to admit that I did hear from a couple senators this week some absolutely insanely crazy theories that I thought, wow, I guess there's still like 1 or 2 bastions of denial out there who, like sunspots were causing global warming. No. And while I'm not going to go into like all the reasons why sunspots could not possibly be causing global warming, I'm not going there.
Al Gore went on C-SPAN 3 and testified to the House in the morning and then the Senate in the afternoon.
I'm sure the videos are on YouTube by now or at Al Gore's website. I'm sure you could see at least...
it was on C-SPAN's website, too,
and
right?
C-SPAN, yeah, probably C-SPAN's as well.
So if you don't get C-SPAN 3, you can maybe find it on their website or YouTube.
But here's what he was talking about that was really, really cool. He was talking about, what do we need to do? Because everybody wants to be solution-centered. What do we need to do? And he said, the words that a lot of heavy industry kind of goes, ah! But he said carbon cap. Now, before all you industry people immediately start going, oh my gosh, listen to me. This is not a bad thing. This is a redirection thing. And everybody, whether you're in the US or China or India or Mexico, you can redirect workforces and make a lot of money. You understand money, cha-ching, with this. This is not how much is it going to cost me to clean this up. What this is really about is how much is it going to cost me to not clean it up. There was one senator there I thought was very interesting. He talked about the fact that it was his daughter's 9th birthday. And he said...
The day that he was testifying,
yes, which was Wednesday, the first full day of spring, March 21st. And he was saying, I doubt that my daughter will come to me today and ask me about global warming or a global warming summit. He said, but I know that she will look me in the eye and ask me, Daddy, what did you do today that meant something? What did you do today that was important? And, that is really the question.
He said that what she would ask in the future is that, hey, Dad, were you part of the problem or were you part of the solution?
Yeah, and he wants to be, part of the solution. And he kind of choked up at that moment. And I can understand why. Because I think if you're involved in major industry that has a history of pollution issues, don't fool yourself on this one. The world won't be the same for you 5 years from now. So look into the face of your 5-year-old child and wonder what the world will be like when they're 10. Not a generation from now, 5 years from now. 5 years from now, this world will be a different place. 5 years from now. Because things have gone so long. But can we change it? Absolutely. The whole chlorofluorocarbon issue we thought was completely unsolvable, but we did it. We faced it down. We had the courage to face it down. And now that giant hole that was a huge problem has now been healing itself because we've allowed it to. We've stopped putting chemicals in the air that was causing the damage. The same thing can be done here. Carbon cap allows us to be creative. In the Netherlands, where they've had to do this for a few years, they slapped that carbon cap on and said, you're going to get a carbon cap or you're going to be paying a lot of fines. And industry went, ooh.
Lose money. Bad.
Bad. We can make changes. And they did. Our auto industry is suffering right now, not because of clean air amendments, but because we failed to keep up with the rest of the world. We could be selling a bazillion cars in China right now, but we can't because our cars don't meet their emission standards. And they have a little pollution issue.
Guess what? Toyota's flourishing. Toyota is flourishing right now because they have a hybrid car.
Yep, and they have several hybrids, actually. Several hybrid options, the Highlander and Prius. And, we have to get with the program. And this means more jobs for Americans, not less. This means more jobs worldwide, not less. Because the alternative is we don't turn some of this around and a whole lot of prime real estate is going to be way underwater. Don't doubt that. Don't think it's silly, because it will happen. So we got to turn a lot of that around, and we can do that. So he talked about carbon cap. Mm-hmm. The other thing he talked about was, and I thought this was interesting, a Connie Mae, which for those of you who are familiar with Jenny Mae and Fannie Mae, but today not Sally Mae because they're a for-profit company, this is an issue of bringing up Connie Mae, like carbon, and using carbon issues, becoming carbon neutral with respect to your home and your businesses, etc. and so forth, attaching that issue to mortgages, to new properties, to new homes, to old homes, and having the opportunity to actually sell suppose you put up your own little windmill or your own little solar facilitator and you roll that into your mortgage, and then you were able to become carbon neutral by using really great light bulbs and getting great appliances and all the things. You could roll it in your mortgage, and then you can sell your extraneous energy back to the utility companies in a controlled market. The reason it has to be a controlled market is, if it isn't, then somebody who has the ability to get a whole lot of solar panels and a whole lot of windmills would be able to do more than the small, modest family who would have just their house and their windmill and their solar panels. And you want to make sure that it stays competitive for everybody. And this enfranchises across the board. You think we can't do it? Of course we can do it. We can do it because we've done incredible things.
We solved the ozone problem.
There you go.
The hole in the ozone layer is gone because we had the will to fix it.
There are a lot of things across history that people have overcome. We have overcome our stupidness on so many levels in so many ways across the planet. I don't have time to name them all because that's how many accomplishments we've had.
We were watching An Inconvenient Truth last night. It was on TV. Last
Showtime.
night. Showtime. Thanks, Showtime. and we got to see it again, and we're gonna buy it. But one thing that one of the senators said that really irked me a lot. I mean, there was a lot of things they said that irked me, but there's one guy who was criticizing Al Gore's movie, and he had all these pie charts and stuff with him, with these big boards he was putting up, and I forget where he was from, but he was saying his whole point was that his film, An Inconvenient Truth, was really big on the problem of global warming and didn't focus on solutions a lot. And that was his whole thing going on. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, like, the whole point of the film was to wake people up in the first place.
Sell you on the issue of this is not a myth.
He isn't going to make the movie heavy on solutions if people are still in denial. That what he had to do first with the documentary was to pull people out of that denial and convince them, give them these hard facts, these real facts that are completely true, and pictures and bring people and scientists and bring people out of this denial first, so that they think, wow, this is actually a real problem and not a myth and not fantasy. So what can I do? And then he gives them the solutions.
Which of course this guy apparently missed that part.
Yeah, and he obviously missed the solutions, and he didn't stay for the credits.
Now you see,
the credits are part of the movie, dude.
That required reading. Oh, come on, you had to actually read.
Yeah, but that just really irked me because it's like, no, it wasn't supposed to. Okay, and people aren't going to listen to the solutions if you don't convince them that it's a real problem.
There you go.
All right? And he had all these facts to present, and he had to fit them all in this documentary, and he succeeded in a nice structure, and then he provided solutions. So, and that was the whole purpose of Al Gore testifying on Capitol Hill, was to offer solutions and give them ideas, because now that they finally admit that it's real, duh.
I really like the tax thing, where employees' taxes would be reduced. Employers wouldn't have to pay those taxes on their employees in exchange for creating a carbon neutral environment. I like that. I like that a lot. Can you imagine paying less taxes because you're now in a green building, or that your boss got equipment that was energy saver, or you're paying less taxes, he's paying less taxes? That means more money. More money means more employees. More employees means more money. Because you're going to be able to do more and be more and buy more.
The whole thing was to strengthen the economy. The whole point of this was to strengthen the economy. They think, if we do all this stuff, it's going to weaken the economy. It's like, no, the exact opposite.
The exact opposite.
It's going to create jobs. It's going to strengthen the economy.
It may be different jobs.
Different jobs?
Some of them will actually be safer jobs.
Yeah.
But there'll be jobs. And the industries who are in those jobs, they think, this is just going to dry up and disappear. No, it's not. Not if you're clever. You're going to change the way that you... So let's look at oil. Let's look at oil, because oil is the dirty 3-letter word, because everybody said, we got to drill in the Arctic. That's what we got to do. Hey, there's the upside of global warming. We can drill in the Arctic. No, you can't. 1, there's not enough. 2, the ecosphere is too fragile. And 3, that's going down the same stupid path. Do you know that the Army in 1945, after World War II, said to be dependent upon all that petroleum derivative is the wrong way to go. 1945, we knew this was a stupid way to go. Okay? Short-sighted. Now, suppose I own an oil company. I might do what BP's doing. I might say, you know what? I need to start looking at alternative fuel sources. I need to start looking at synthetic sources. I need to start looking at ways that I can be actively involved in the new fuels. Do you know that methane gas, which of course is another great polluter, but can also be controlled, regulated, and even phytovolatilized out of the environment through plants? I know, those were some very big words. That means we can actually use plants to clean up stuff that's gone wrong. Toxins, even radioactive waste. I will talk about this additionally in other episodes. Won't burden you with the whole thing right now, but there's a point to that, because there are ways that we can clean up our own backyard, literally, from air pollution, water pollution, soil contamination, that's not only cheap, but it works and it's safe. We could apply that same mentality to switching our industry. If I owned a big fat oil company right now and I was worried about losing my millions, I would start using my millions to look at where am I going to put my workers tomorrow, besides on a highly dangerous oil platform out in the middle of a very dangerous sea, who's going to be angrier in storms whose frequency may not be greater, but their ferocity will be because of global warming. I could save a life. Instead of them being out on that platform, maybe I'm going to have them planting sunflowers. I don't know. But if I own big oil, I need to stop being so lazy and redirect my energy in a way that's going to help keep my people employed and keep me rich. And the best way to do that, ironically, is by helping to change the alternative fuel industry and being a part of it. Not standing off at the side and going, oh, that's really bad. I don't like that. Well, you know what? I don't like a lot of things, but we have to deal with it because we're adults. So there we go.
And this is the only planet we have.
Yeah, it's where we live.
You're going to start shopping for real estate on Venus or Mars. One is hotter than we are now, and one is colder than we are now. Well, hey, you don't want that, do you?
Yeah, somebody else was talking about the theory of global warming. They were looking at what had happened to Mars. You know how far Earth and Mars are apart? You cannot assume the same thing that happened on Mars is going to happen on the Earth. Sorry, not the same. I'm sure that they weren't burning coal-fire plants on Mars. Maybe they are. And they were doing it underground and hiding because they don't want us to know. But I kind of doubt it. Just my personal opinion. I think they're brighter than we are. The World Wildlife Fund, on the same subject, has the list of the most endangered rivers globally, which was also brought up at the summit. And, of course, the Yangtze River being one of the most endangered. There's a picture of it right here that looks really disgusting. Actually, kind of reminds me
bunch of trash in it. And
some of our rivers in Pittsburgh
and
50 years ago.
Waste.
But we cleaned up, and so can they. Which means that it is within our power to clean these things up. We cannot just keep polluting en masse and not think that we can be part of the solution. We can. What's little things you could do? You can compost. You ever compost? Compost is cool.
Yeah, all those banana peelings and stuff that you throw out.
Eggshells, little tea bags, and coffee grounds.
The soil loves that.
Yes, and then you go out and get the worms. The kids love the worms. The worms are so cool.
Okay, buy those light bulbs.
Yes, buy the light bulbs.
Buy the light bulbs from GE, the energy-saving light bulbs. They'll save you $60 on your electric bill over the course of 5 years.
And that's just one lamp. Just think
One
if
lamp.
you do it to your whole house.
Just think if you replace all the light bulbs in your house with these little spiral-looking light bulbs.
They're funny looking, but they're great.
Yeah, they're who cares what the bulbs look like?
I don't care.
I don't care.
I think they're cool.
I think they're cool. I like spirals.
I do too.
We
makes sense.
We bought them. We bought them.
Yes, we did.
So we are not hypocrites. We bought them.
No, and I have a flex fuel vehicle.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
do.
I have a flex fuel vehicle. My vehicle gets very, 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 very good gas mileage, and it's not a box.
Oh, and another good,
It's a really
easy
cool
thing.
van.
Another easy thing you could do is is not use your car as much. If it's not, your destination's not too far away, walk or ride a bike or use public transportation.
That's
right. Simple stuff like that. Or walk, and...
What's wrong with walking? Take the pets out, take the kids out, walk a little bit. Go to the park.
And get some free exercise while you're doing it.
There you go. I mean, you start figuring, how much do you pay to park? And I know, you got to haul all that stuff to work. But, if you just throw it in a backpack, it'll work.
Yeah, and a huge misconception is that, global warming's so big and I just can't do anything about it. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can. Do these
Plant
little
something.
things. Plant something. Plant trees.
Yes, trees are really good.
Lots of trees.
Perennial flowers. Really, really great. Put it in a little herb garden. Put it in your windowsill. Okay, so you've got a yard the size of a postage stamp.
If you can afford it, a windmill in your backyard, start generating your own electricity, and your electric bill will go down virtually to zero. How much is a windmill kit nowadays?
They range. But they start from like $400 or $500 and go up. You can also build your own. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to build your own. Mother Earth News always has some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, if you really want to help, put a windmill in your backyard.
Sustainability, yeah. I want a windmill in my backyard.
Yeah, and the best thing is if you start making enough electricity from it, the electrical company pays you.
I really like that part. I
you like money.
Really like that part. I love that. But can you imagine getting a check every quarter from the electric company? It's like Christmas every quarter. Imagine how cool that would be.
Because you're making more electricity for them than they are for you. So you're making your own electricity and then some. So your electric bill is gone. So if you invest the money in a windmill, if you really want to help out, go out, try a windmill or a solar panel. Really, the investment will more than pay off as time goes on.
And you need to look at some alternative fuel things, because especially with utilities, because if you have a massive power outage, you're stuck. You don't have your air conditioning, you don't have your heating system because you need electricity to click on your heater, your natural gas or whatever. Those of you who are on propane or on fuel oil, that gets to be a little bit touchy. You always like to have a backup. Mm-hmm. Well, if you have your own facilitation, whether it be solar or whether it be wind, you are going to be on the grid. You're going to be fine. You're going to have lights. You're going to have heat. You're going to have air. Some of your friends might not, but you will. Backup generators. Always good to have a generator, but think of a green generator. Always good to have a backup. You never know in this day and age, they always say, go to beready.gov. Make sure that you have your emergency kit. Make sure you have a backup plan. One of your backup plans is, what do I do? What if you have a sick relative in your house who needs a hookup to electricity? They need their oxygen, or they need to have special equipment running. What are you going to do?
Do something. Do something. Now, Scholastic here is taking the initiative, definitely.
Oh, yeah, books, because, they print some pretty healthy books. The books are sizable. So here in the Potter Corner news, Dove has some very interesting, helpful news from Scholastic. Go for it.
This is so cool. I don't know if this is the first time that they're doing this, but they may have done it before, but now they're doing it with a whole print run. With the 7th book in the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, is going to be released July 21st, and it's all going to be printed on recycled paper.
Yay!
This I think this is the first time for a Harry Potter book. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. The other companies overseas had been doing this with previous books, and now Scholastic's come on. I'm just going to read this little short article here that in a major effort to help with forest conservation efforts, Scholastic announced that all 12 million copies of the first print run of the book will be printed on paper that contains a minimum of 30% post-consumer waste fiber. Moreover, 65% of the 16,700 tons of paper used in the U.S. first printing will be certified by the Forest Stewardship Council, the FSC, the global standard setter for responsible forest management. This historic commitment is the largest purchase of FSC certified paper to be used in the printing of a single book title ever. There is some additional news about the deluxe edition of Deathly Hallows that Scholastic is releasing this summer, as well as the book jacket of the book that will be printed on this paper. In addition, the company announced that the deluxe edition, 100,000 copies, will be printed on text paper that is FSC certified and contains 100% post-consumer waste fiber.
Yeah.
Woo! All jackets will be FSC certified and contain 30% post-consumer waste and will be manufactured using energy generated from wind power.
Yeah!
Woo! Like that. For future printings of all books in the Harry Potter series, Scholastic plans to use paper with a minimum content of 30% PCW, and that is FSC certified when available. Now, this book is going to be 784 pages. That was just announced. Now, imagine, 734 pages times 12 million. That's a lot of paper.
That's a lot of paper.
That's a lot of paper.
At least they'll have enough books for the week, you know? What they're going to do for the second week, I don't know. But 12 million sounds like, they'll get them through, maybe Friday night, Saturday,
yeah, considering
Sunday.
that the last book sold 7 million copies in the first day,
That's what I'm saying. 12.5. They might get to Sunday, but then what are they going to do for Monday?
Now, this is a quote from the Rainforest Alliance, noting, here's a quote from them. We applaud Scholastic's progressive and bold commitment to support responsive forestry practices by buying FSC certified and recycled papers, said Lisa Murphy, Senior Marketing Manager in the Rainforest Alliance's Sustainable Forestry Program. We hope that all businesses follow this lead by using paper that comes from forests that are managed in a way that protects soils and waterways and benefits local communities. You go, Scholastic.
Nice job, nice job.
Yeah.
Hint. Good job. Which means
right.
it's safe to go out and buy the books.
And buy the books, yes. If you're really big on environmentalists, you can still get your book.
Now, I think that, everybody who hasn't been working out, how important staying in shape and staying fit is. You really need to start doing those free weights so that you're able to carry the Harry Potter book home from the bookstore this summer, because you got to do those curls.
You're gonna need
got to pump you up.
You're gonna need a skateboard or a dolly or a Mack truck to carry this book. But now we know that it's 784 pages, and if you were able to carry Or the Phoenix home, then you're good. Because
Parents, if you have 2 or 3 kids who are all getting books at the same time, you got to be careful when you get back into the car to make sure the books are evenly distributed throughout, so you don't weigh it down on one side. Things are dragging.
So you get home safely.
Exactly.
Don't want anything weird to happen there.
Exactly. And then, the quietest day of the year will be the day after this book comes out. It's like the children all nestled, all snug in their beds, while the Deathly Hallows is dancing through their heads. There will be no kids on the street anywhere. They'll be gone. Everybody will be like, where are the kids? They're in their little air-conditioned rooms reading, or they're out under a tree in the park reading, or they're out on a bench reading with their friends, or reading aloud to each other in the library.
And the key word being reading. Not playing their video games and sitting like little couch potatoes all day.
Keeping their brains working through the summer.
During the summer.
See, educators, you were worried. Got a nice big fat book to keep everything going. Oh, I was going to do the Happiness U-curve. Happiness U-curve. This was a cute little article this week. Got to have something on the upside to keep baby boomers from being massively depressed about their pets right now. So the good news is, if you're 40-something and you're somewhere around 45, this is the most depressed you will be. You're about to hit your happiness U-curve, and things go back up between 45 and 60 and continue on after that. Midlife happiness crisis, it's called, and
this is by Joel Waldfogel.
Go, Joel.
Joel Waldfogel. I read a little bit of this. Do people get happier as they age? Volumes of academic research measured that determinants of individual economic well-being, wages, income, and wealth. That is because money is supposed to buy not only necessities but also happiness in the form of iPhones and TiVos. Except that the relationship between money and happiness turns out to be complex. People with higher incomes today report higher levels of happiness than their poorer contemporaries. At the same time, people today are far richer than earlier generations, but they're not happier than those who came before them. In light of such wrinkles, a growing cadre of economists has cut out the money middleman and moved to studying happiness directly. The latest installment in this genre is a new study of economists David Blanchflower of Dartmouth and Andrew Oswald of Warwick. They document how happiness evolves as people age. While income and wealth tend to rise steadily over the life cycle, peaking around retirement, happiness follows a U-shaped age pattern. The author's data come from large-scale surveys. The General Social Survey asks Americans to rate their happiness level on a 3-point scale, with very happy, a 3, pretty happy, a 2, and not too happy, a 1. The average happiness score in the United States is 2.2. The data, covering people older than 16, come from the years 1974 through 2004 and include about 20,000 men and 25,000 women. Across the Atlantic, the Eurobarometer offers a similar 4-point scale: very satisfied, fairly satisfied, not very satisfied, and not at all satisfied. The average happiness score in Europe is 3. The data include about 400,000 men and women in 11 European countries from 1975 to 1998. Analyzing data from these surveys, Blanchflower and Oswald found that for both men and women in the United States and throughout Europe, happiness starts off relatively high in early adulthood, then falls, bottoming out on average around age 45, and then rises after that year and on into old age. In this study, as in others, people are happier than their poorer counterparts if they have more income. How does the effect of income on happiness compare with the age effect? In the United States, the steady decline in happiness from age 16 to age 45 has an effect that's larger than a 50% reduction in income. That is, happiness varies more as people get older than it does if you compare significantly richer people to poorer ones. And equivalently, the 15-year-old upswing in happiness that follows age 45 is stronger than the upswing that tracks doubling of income. For Europeans, the age-based happiness rise that's equivalent to the effect of doubling income occurs around ages 35 and 70. The U-shaped happiness pattern is not a completely new finding, but past researchers couldn't tell whether 55-year-olds were happier than 45-year-olds in a given year because they'd aged or because they were born into a sunnier generation. This study gets around this problem by combining data on people of different ages at different points in time over a quarter century. The authors can compare not only 55 and 45-year-olds today, but also 55-year-olds today to people who were 45 a decade ago. And when they account for when people were born, the U-shaped happiness pattern remains.
Sounds good to me. So that means that I should be getting happier every year. I will get happier and happier and happier till I will be ecstatic. And obviously happiness isn't based on money, because if it was, there'd be a whole lot of unhappy people. You know, the amazing thing is that Americans have more, at least access to more than most people in the world, yet I think some Americans would describe themselves as less happy. So here's the bottom line. Get happier. Do things that make you happy. You don't have to have a midlife crisis. You can have a midlife rejoicement. Mm-hmm. I think everybody should have a midlife rejoicement.
The article ends with, so why does happiness start strong, dip with middle age, and then revive among the elderly? The authors, they're economists, after all, can do little more than speculate about the causes of the midlife happiness crisis. They propose that people come to understand their strengths and weaknesses, and in midlife quell the infeasible aspirations of their youth, quote-unquote. Whatever the cause, even if middle-aged Americans are less happy than their parents and grandparents, they have something to look forward to, besides senility and death, that is.
You know, isn't it great that these guys can't figure this out? Well, gee, after you're 16, why aren't you as happy? Well, let's see. You go to college or you go to work, you get a mountain of debt, you go out, you get an apartment, get a mountain of debt, buy your first house, get a mountain of debt, get married, find out it's not what you thought it was, have a few kids, get a mountain of debt, start robbing one credit card to pay the other credit card, sitting in a spiral till you reach about 45, and then you send them to college.
And then you get happier.
Because they're moving forward.
I mean, I wonder what would have happened if they had done this study in caveman days. If that were possible.
I mean, it's a 25-year study. It's principally baby boomers. I mean, some people who were older, certainly not that many
They're doing
Xers.
a 50-year study.
Yeah, because, they're going to have to keep following them. But I suspect that having the ability to reclaim some of your own time might actually be responsible for the happiness quotient increasing. What I'm fascinated by is whether or not people who waited to have children, who may be 50, 55, 60, when their kids are still in grade school, high school, are still going to experience the same level of happiness as they do when they're dancing out in the daisy fields with Dennis Hopper going, dreams are not like little flowers. Dreams are powerful. Well, dreams are like little flowers, and they're powerful. So, get out there and embrace those dreams.
But not delicate flowers.
Not delicate. Flowers are delicate. Flowers are fierce. Mm-hmm. As testified by the fact that they will be here even sometimes when we are not. Let's see. The Few, the Proud, the movie. Oh gosh, do I have to talk about this?
You saved it.
I know. Okay.
The
300 was the number one movie again. Gee,
yes, we're
what
talking
a surprise.
about 300 again.
Yes, but we were going to talk about the new movies opening this weekend. And we're going to talk about the new movies now. There's two really interesting films that are opening this weekend that might take you away from
the 300 crowd.
Swords and Hordes. Yeah. And some very buff gentlemen, but I digress. Two really powerful films. One is The Last Mimsy, which looks really, really cute. Haven't seen it yet, haven't previewed it yet, but gosh.
You've seen a million previews for it.
Yeah, what I have seen looks adorable. Okay, so it looks like it's, a little kitty kind of made for movie thing at points. But the special effects are very, very good. The
special effects are very nice.
And I saw today that New Line Cinema is actually offering soundtrack and an Emma doll. And the Emma doll looks very impressive.
Emma doll?
As a collectible, yes, the little girl. And she even
has... I thought you meant the bunny rabbit.
No, the bunny rabbit is a Mimsy.
The bunny rabbit.
And he's got the sacred spiral on his belly. It's very cute.
I think it's on his head.
It's on his belly. I saw him.
There's one on his head.
Well, he's got it on his belly.
Okay, well, there's one on his head, too. I only saw the one on his head.
Okay, well, he's got it on his belly. Anyway, you can get a stuffed bunny at New Line Cinema. You can go look and see where he's marked on his head or his belly. I think she's got hairy syndrome. He's marked on his head, but he's marked on his belly. The Mimsy's marked on his belly.
It was on his head.
And it's not a belly button, it's offside. It's like a little tattoo.
He doesn't have rabbit ears on his belly.
He's got a spiral on his belly. It's very cute.
Yeah, a bigger one, but there's a little one on his head.
I didn't see the one on his head.
Okay.
I saw the one on his belly. It's very cute.
Okay, well, if you see the movie, tell me if I'm wrong.
But it looks cute. The kids look adorable. They're doing a whole thing with like the seventh chakra symbols of the universe, blah 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 blah, as a kind of
the symbol
time
that you keep
portal.
seeing kind of looks like a crop circle.
Well, the symbol that they're using is actually like a chakra symbol of the seventh chakra, opening over the top of the head. Anyway, it looks cute. It looks safe for the kids.
It's PG.
Don't think anybody does. So
no,
it's okay.
Don't think so.
The kids get very smart and start looking at things differently.
The kids are smarter than the parents, of course.
Of course they are.
Than all the adults, for that matter.
Yeah, they always are in these films. But it looks fun. It looks great. And, it looks perfectly safe to take the family to. Have fun with it. Go to the matinee. Sit in the big chairs. Kick your feet back. Get some popcorn. It'll be great. And on the other side of that, for adults, for Rated R, is the film with Don Cheadle, whom I absolutely love, and Adam Sandler, called Reign Over Me. And this might be a difficult film mentally, emotionally to watch, but
this is not a comedy.
It's not a comedy. It is a rather serious look at a man whose life has kind of slipped away from him after he lost his family on 9/11. and he runs into his old college roommate by chance, and he begins to see that he needs to help his friend heal and release and move forward. So, it is going to be an emotional film. I give it 1.5 Kleenex boxes before I even see it. But everything I've seen about this film, I've seen quite an extensive preview of the film. Mm-hmm. It looks really good. And I think it's for Adam Sandler, whom we know probably best as Happy Gilmore, at least in my mind, this is a really great opportunity for him to do something. Yeah, I mean, he's going this direction because he did Spanglish.
Yeah, he seems to be going towards the Eddie Murphy route.
Yes,
Eddie Murphy's
Bill Murray
doing less comedies. I know he did Norbit, but at the same time he did Dreamgirls and yes. So Adam Sandler's doing the same thing. And
it looks like it will be thoughtful.
Thoughtful, very thoughtful.
Very thoughtful.
But we highly recommend both of those movies.
Yes, get out to see them this weekend.
If you're tired of 300, then go see these two movies.
And I mean, there's still some other nice films out there this spring. We actually did, for the winter season, spring just starting on Wednesday, first full day of spring. Spring actually started at 8:07 p.m. Tuesday, but to be technical, to be accurate. But
we began a lot of great movies.
Actually had some good movies this spring. We had Amazing Grace, and there were others really, they didn't do necessarily very well against 300.
Right.
But
last year was a great movie year, and it looks like 2007 is going to be a great movie year.
And some of the better movies from last year are now out on DVD, like Babel. On Tuesday, Happy Feet comes out. If you have not seen Happy Feet, the Academy Award winner for Best Animated Feature, you got to see this. I don't care if you're 2 or 102. You got to see Happy Feet.
Everybody will love this movie.
My gosh, it's cute.
Children of Men is
coming out. Again, not for children.
Rated R.
Rated R, but has some of the best cinematography I've ever seen.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Labyrinth comes out May 15th. If you could still see it in the theater, see it in the theater.
Yeah, it should still be out in some theaters right now.
Yes.
Go to the Dollar Theater and see it. It's well worth your money.
Absolutely.
I'd go see it again if I had the time.
If you get to see it in the art house, see it in the art house.
It's really good. And a lot of people don't like subtitled movies, but I would pay to see this movie again.
You don't even notice it.
You don't even notice it.
Notice it.
You don't notice it.
But Children of Men, which got nominated as nicely, but didn't necessarily win.
Yeah,
tough categories. Is Alfonso Cuarón, whom I love. Just an incredible director. Brilliant. He did wonders with this film, adapting it for the screen, and I believe is one of the most talented directors that's ever sucked air. He is just immensely gifted. It was great for him, and Guillermo del Toro, who did Pan's Labyrinth, who is tremendously gifted.
Awards.
And he's not peaked yet. He is climbing. He is. I don't think we have seen his best work yet. I think
this is one of the best.
And Alejandro González Iñárritu, who did Babel, great film with some tremendous actors in it. See these movies now that they're coming out on DVD. If you have on demand in your city and you get it the same day as the release, I believe that's Denver and Pittsburgh, you can go on your on demand menu and pull them up, sit down and watch them, and then go buy them, because some of these are good films to have in your collection. There will be 2 animated features on the Happy Feet DVD that you can't get anywhere else, so get that for the family.
Yes, there'll be 2 extra scenes. There's other features as well.
Mm-hmm. Now over to our college corner. Dun, da, da, da. If you're not watching the NCAA this weekend, as we get down to the Elite Eight, my team lost. University of Pittsburgh,
Moment
of course.
Of silence.
Make it to Sweet 16 all the time!
They make it to Sweet 16 and then they lose.
And UCLA, I just have one thing to say. If Pitt had made every ball that was going toward that basket, it would have been like 80
Okay, but this is really cool.
This is really cool.
North Carolina College, liberal arts college, says no more student loans!
Yay! Some of you out there may not know this. The parents will be extremely giddy with Surprise. And there's no place you could search these. I tried to search them and get them all in one location, but I'm going to give you some of them all in one location right now. Davidson in North Carolina is joining a growing number of schools who have decided that putting kids into student loan debt is stupid, evil, mean. So, Davidson, props to them, Davidson.
All right.
Is no more student loans. So, how does that work, you're wondering? Here's what happens. Student goes out and works diligently through high school to get very good grades and does their work. Student goes to fastweb.com, FASTWEB, in the 9th grade and begins to apply for merit scholarships and gets a bunch of those by the time they're ready to graduate. Plays a sport, makes sure they get through the NCAA clearinghouse with their good grades and their excellent test scores. Don't go Looney Tunes on the ACT and SAT test scores. Just get some good scores. Don't drive yourself insane.
Prepare for it, but
don't go nuts.
But don't spend all your energy on it because that'll have negative consequences.
Exactly. Don't take it like 19 times.
No.
Okay?
Oh my gosh. Don't take it 19 times. If you want to take it again, if you think you can improve your score, fine, but no more than twice.
Let's stop the madness.
People take it 45 times. You're spending all your money per test, and
and then you got to send it out to all the schools over and over and over again. $7. It's crazy. I know there are some schools who still think that this test is the bee's knees, but you know what? Other schools are saying, it's one test one day. They go in at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. They probably were up all night worrying about it. You got to drop $2,000 on a tutoring class just to do well on this thing, or at least that's the story out there. You know what? You don't. And just relax, but do well so that by the time you get to your junior year in particular, you are now ready to start looking at universities. And one of the things you need to look at are how do they do their financial aid packages. Here are the questions you shouldn't be afraid to ask. 1. Are you a need-blind institution? What that really means is that when your son or daughter or you apply for the institution, you are applying without anyone who's going to review your application knowing your family's financial circumstance. If you're making $25,000 a year, or $250,000 a year, they don't know, they don't care. They are only given information and numbers and the student's application and achievement. A committee will sit around and come up with a composite score that will say if the student is in or not in, but it will not have anything to do with who knew whom and how much you make to determine whether or not your kid gets into school. So you need to ask, are you a need-blind institution? And if they're not a need-blind institution, find out how much your income and need play in admission. Those are important questions. Number 2 question you want to ask. If the student is coming in with outside merit scholarships, you need to know if that institution's financial aid package will allow for that student to subtract away loans first from their financial aid package. Your package will consist of your personal merit scholarships, the merit scholarships that the university uniquely gives you, the number of grants that you're eligible for, BEOG, SEOG, work study, and your athletic grants and aid. If you're going to a D1, D2, or NAIA school.
Basically, know your school.
Know
the schools.
But, this spring, a whole lot of juniors and even sophomore parents are going out there and going to these schools, and you're just going to be inundated with information. But the 3 important questions to ask. Here's question number 4. Will you cover the cost of my child's education beyond their EFC? Now, Davidson has just joined a few unique schools in saying, yes, we'll cover that. And the only way you're going to find out is actually to go to the university website, punch up financial aid, and see what it says. Now, I bet you're asking, okay, what other schools do this? Well, I've got a few here. The Ivies are schools that will cover any gap in funding from your EFC, your estimated financial contribution, on your FAFSA to the university cost. So let's say, your kids got their own merit scholarships, the university scholarships, their grants, aid, work study, loan, and they get down to $5, $6, $7, $10, $12, $14,000 gap. Those universities will cover that grant, that aid in a gap, paid by a grant. Nice, isn't that? You know who else does that? Notre Dame, Oberlin, and some other choice schools around the country. So while you're going through your list and deciding which universities you're going to apply for, one of the things you want to look at is, I don't say pick a school by doing that. And there's a lot of kids who say, I just want to go to an Ivy because it's an Ivy. But whether or not that's really going to be a legitimately good match for them, who knows? You've got to really sit down and decide whether or not the atmosphere of the school, not just its name and its prestige, is going to be a good match for you. Do they have a good reputation in your major? Is the school actually having faculty teach your classes or graduate assistants? And at what frequency? These are the kinds of questions you need to ask. Well, if you're going on these tours, don't just get sucked into all the glamour and here's where you can stay and here's your pretty dorm and here's your classroom and look at all the pretty objects. Actually ask some hard questions. And the hardest questions are about, how do we get this bill paid? Ask them, what are they looking for? And don't ask it in vague terms. Say, so let's say I'm in the top 10% of my graduating class. What's my chances of getting in this university? What's your criteria? What are the top 6 most important things to you? In order of importance. Tell me what they are. Don't be afraid to ask tough questions, because this is your future. And your future will be tied into an immense amount of debt unless you become proactive early. And proactive early means going out and getting your own merit money, making financial planning arrangements with your parents, setting money aside, using TAP programs, 529s. We'll talk about this in upcoming weeks. But right now, I want you to focus on schools that are need blind and cover your EFC, or cover beyond your EFC, because that means no loans for you. Imagine going to college and not having loans. But now that means you need to be a superb candidate.
That's the dream.
There it is. So, work hard, do your homework, make good test scores, don't drive yourself crazy.
Don't slack.
And when you go on these tours, ask these kinds of financial aid questions. I remember when, I'll even say whose tour it was. We were in an open house chat with New York University, NYU, and I asked some of those questions. The admissions representative said, "This isn't your first time at the rodeo, is it? You must have other children in college." And I said, "Actually, I don't. But I've been doing a lot of research for a lot of years, getting ready for this particular time. And I want you to know what I know. And everybody's going to charge you a caducum amount of money. And still no guarantee. And what if you don't have that kind of money, but you still want your kid to go to a good school and achieve the dream? I'm telling you, you can do that. And here's how you do it." So, there's that topic for the week. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to email us and ask at
Falcon Dove, FALCONDOVE at AreaSimmons, AREYASIMMONS.com. Falcon Dove at AreaSimmons.com.
There are also international students who can get grants and loans in the U.S. I know we have a pretty sizable international audience. We want you to know that. And there are schools we will talk about in subsequent weeks that actually have money for international students to come to the U.S. and vice versa. U.S. students who can study abroad in some pretty amazing programs. So, a little teaser there.
Here's Falcon's discussion of the week. And Dove had a mini rant earlier on that senator.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll finish with some more some lighthearted articles here.
Yeah, we need some lighthearted articles this week.
Yeah, we're trying to cram it all in here. Mogos.com. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. It's a mobile. It's a mobile thing. Mogos goes where you go. I'm on their website right now, and I'll just read what it says here.
MOGOES.com.
Mogos.
You got to spell it that way, otherwise you're going to end up with a site with some very interesting magnets for your car. At least I think that's what they were.
Mobile Media Ventures, that's the company, announces a new name, Mogos. Mogos is a mobile media company that creates, distributes, and markets customized informational, educational, and entertainment mobile video and audio tours, vignettes, coupons, maps, and other content that goes with you in the palm of your hand. Mogos tours are viewed on mobile devices such as iPods, MP3 players, or mobile phones.
Okay, so here's what you do. Mogos, in a couple of months here in Pittsburgh, you're going to be able to like flip open your phone, your PDA, your iPod, and say you want to tour University of Pittsburgh, or say you want to tour Cathedral of Learning. You're actually going to be able to open your phone and punch in some buttons and be able to actually take a mobile video walking tour. Or suppose you need information on, I don't know, nonprofits in the area, or on a walking tour. You know, we have a lot of walking tours in Pittsburgh of really cool architectural building sites like the Mexican War streets and stuff like that. Well, now you'll be able to have it on your PDA.
Imagine having your own personal guide to show you the most interesting parts of a city, encourage you to exercise, help you buy a house, or to provide information about a new job opportunity. All available on your mobile phone or iPod. These are the types of programs that Mogos creates for tourism boards, companies, universities, and colleges, and real estate organizations. Mogos helps businesses and organizations tap into hard-to-reach travelers, students, recruits, and customers in the exploding mobile market. We do this by creating high-quality, made-for-mobile programs that are informational, educational, and entertaining. We then work with our clients to distribute and market them to the end users. At Mogos, we help our customers harness the power of today's mobile media revolution, reaching the mobile masses by providing content that their customers want. And this is off of mogos.com.
So there we go. Could be interesting. Could be very, very interesting.
Could be very, very
So if you have a business and you're interested in maybe utilizing, that would be great for open houses. You can't get into a house and see it on a Sunday afternoon. You can actually tour the house on your phone. That would be fantastic.
Their latest tour was History of Pittsburgh, Station Square, and that's done. That's complete and available on an iPod near you.
Oh, Station Square. Oh, let me tell you, totally off subject. If you ever get a chance to come to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and you come to Station Square, you must eat at the Grand Concourse. You must eat there. The most beautiful architectural building, just one of the most stunning.
Used to be a train station.
Used to be a train station.
It's now a
the
huge
old Pennsylvania
restaurant.
Station. It's gorgeous.
Huge restaurant, and it has reservations backed up.
Oh yeah.
But don't worry,
Sunday
you can
brunch you can get in.
You can get in.
Yeah, Sunday brunch they don't take reservations, so you can get in, and they have some excellent jazz. The food is incredible. It's indescribable. It really is. There are so many magnificent restaurants in most major cities in the U.S., but how many of them are architectural marvels? And I mean, this place you can sit in the sunroom area and look out on the river, or you can sit in this magnificent atrium on marble steps with beautiful brass railings and tremendous neo-Gothic architecture. It's too cool.
That's the real estate agent and my mother.
Me? No, not me.
We got one last thing here. We mentioned the Deathly Hallows book earlier. This was something weird that popped up earlier. The Hogwarts Express train was vandalized.
Oh, you know what?
Again, this happened before.
Yeah, it's like nothing better to do.
Nothing better to do. And they said kids did this.
If I get my hands on those kids,
tons of witnesses.
I got something for them to do. I've got a yard that needs cleaned up. I got trees and bushes that need cut. And that's exactly what needs to happen. There should be no distracted youth.
Kids as young as 10. We're doing this. What they did was they broke all the windows in the cabins.
And you know what they would be doing? They would be learning the fine art of glass replacement.
Yeah, glass replacement. They said it's going to take a month to replace all the windows. They actually took the train's own emergency hammers and broke all the windows and caused 50,000 pounds. That's about $100,000 in damage. And this happened in 2003.
They would be working for a while
and caused $3,000 in damage. But now they just thought it wasn't enough. I don't know if this is the same kids, but they said 6 kids did this as young as 10, and at least they weren't filming with it right now. But it'll take a month to fix.
They need some security cameras on that train.
They need security cameras.
And then
they've hyped up security, but in people, not cameras. But
no, you need cameras. So you get their pictures, and then you put it all over YouTube, and you embarrass the daylights out of them. And then you film them while they're doing their public service work from detention. And then you put that on YouTube.
YouTube is great for
that
blackmail.
way, you discourage them from wanting to do this again. Because then somebody will say, aren't you one of those blokes who broke all the windows in Hogwarts train? You are, aren't you? You know, believe me, do you want to be on YouTube as one of the distracted youth breaking windows at the Hogwarts train?
What's the point? You obviously got nothing else to do with your life than break through the gate and break the train windows.
Anybody who thinks, kid right now says to me, I'm bored, you just email me. I will come up with ways that you can make money this spring and summer. Put money in your pocket. I don't care where you live. I don't care if you're in the most destitute area of all time. I've lived in destitute areas. There are always ways to make a little pocket cash. Don't go out and destroy somebody's and vandalize somebody's property. It's crazy. First of all, it's just stupid.
It gets you into trouble.
It gets you into trouble.
What the heck?
Rather than vandalize, take their money. Do something really nice.
Yeah.
That's much better. Put it in your pocket. Put it in your savings account.
You don't want the people of Warner Brothers on your bad side, all right?
Exactly. I mean, there are other things that you can do. But I would take those kids in and show them what it takes to replace glass.
And they if they catch them, I hope they make them replace all the windows.
Well, that's
and
what I'm saying.
Train.
50,000 pounds. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of community service hours, and they would be doing.
You look good on your resume.
That's it.
All right, I guess we'll finish with a quote of the week. Here we go. Persistence is the twin sister of excellence. One is a matter of quality, the other a matter of time. Maribel Morgan.
Here. Oh, I like that.
Persistence. Be persistent.
Be persistent. And then you achieve excellence.
Positively persistent. Yes, if you're persistent, you will achieve excellence.
Like Tiger Woods.
Persistence,
not
blackmail.
A lot of balls.
Persistence, not blackmail.
No.
I know it's a fine line, guys, but...
No, persistence.
Persistence.
Not irritation, persistence. Just work hard.
Positive persistence.
That's it. Well, that's wrapping it up. It was a very, very busy week. As always, we thank you for listening to the show.
Thank you. We're getting more listeners every week. Thank you so much. Thanks for spreading the word. As always, you can contact us with anything. If you have a topic that you want discussed on the show, you can email us at falcondove, FALCONDOVE, @arayasimmons.com. Or you can all email me, araya@arayasimmons.com. Either one. It all goes to the same place.
It's clear that we have a lot of people who are either having kids getting ready to go to college or young people themselves getting ready to go to college. And we thank you all for your feedback. We know you're out there, and that's why we're doing this. I mean, we want to make sure that you have fun with the topics we cover, but we also want to give you some really, really valuable information that we've picked up on the way. So I am the Falcon.
And I am the Dove.
Have an excellent week. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay strong.
Peace out.
Peace out.